You're probably here because you just got asked to do something that you don't necessarily think is the right decision, and you're trying to figure out how to find common ground. Whether it's because you're trying to tactfully disagree, or if you're trying to convince somebody of a different position. This week on the Practicing Leader podcast, we're going to discuss exactly that. I'm your host, Prul Bhargava, and let's discuss. There are multiple reasons why you could consider something not to be the correct decision. Something could be factually incorrect. Maybe there's some details missing. Maybe it's against a policy. Maybe it's against the code of conduct, employee handbook, you name it. It could be any one of number of things. The important thing to remember is you want to make sure you have the right mindset. When we think about the right mindset, I think we should look at the following. Assume positive intent. No one wakes up in the morning thinking, you know what? I'm going to do the worst job possible, make the worst decision possible. That's not the way people function. People wake up every morning trying to be their best selves and trying to do the best job that they can. This is why it's important for you to be able to assume that there is positive intent. The next point is about sharing information. You've got a ton of information and experiences at your disposal that the other individual may not have. This is where it's important for you to share information in a way that allows them to be able to hear it. Provide details, provide context, provide additional info, whichever you can do in order for them to be able to help see the same perspective that you have. If you're thinking that there are winners and losers in the discussion, you've already lost. The important thing to consider is if you think about it in the context of winners and losers, you are already thinking of it as a competition where you're the protagonist and they're the antagonist. That can't be a way in which in order to be able to find common ground. You need to consider this in a way that you both are going to come out as winners and you're helping them succeed. If you come in with that mindset, you're going to at least be in a position where you can get to a common ground and what kind of outcome needs to happen. Now that we've got all of that out of the way, we now know that the person has got positive intent. We now know we're going to be trying to share information. We're going to try to listen to them and we're going to try to find a way for them to be able to meet their outcome and help them do it. That mindset is the important piece in all of this. Leadership is a mindset. And this is where you have an opportunity. You can be there for the person when they need you, where they're coming to ask you for some help, and just be ready to be able to provide it. Now that we've gone into that, now we can look at, okay, what are some of the steps we can think about here? Walk in thinking about, okay, well, how do you help them? What are the things that they need? How do we help them meet their outcomes? Figure out those things in order to be able to help them get the goal that they're looking to achieve. Now that they've come to you and asked you for something, they may have shown up with a solution. They may have said, I've already thought about all these things. I want you to go do X, Y, and Z. Be curious and ask them more questions. Figure out how did they came to that conclusion. Figure out exactly where they're going. Try to see, is there an opportunity to be able to figure out, are there assumptions that they're making that you do not know about? And try to figure out, okay, are there unintended consequences of some of those choices? And this is an opportunity for you to be very, very curious and figure out, is there something that is good about what they're trying to do here that you are missing? It's not to say that after this conversation that you will automatically agree or that you will find common ground. But this is where at least you have done your part to try to find that common ground. This is where if you find that there are things that you can't let go of or you can't look past because maybe it's against the policy. Maybe it's against something, maybe it's against the rules that you've set for yourself. Maybe the homeowners association has said, no, I can't do that. It could be any of those things. Respectfully share your concerns and outline the points point by point. Walk through them together. Let them ask questions about why it's important, why it's not important. Have them walk through it with you. Bring them along on the journey. Maybe there's somebody with more experience that you're aware of, and then you can try to offer to pull them in to help with the discussion. Provide alternative options. This is where there might be multiple ways to be able to solve this problem. See if there's other ways that you can still meet the goals and at the same time not put yourself in a place where you're in disagreement in the methods that they've chosen. See if there's another way to do it. Irrespective of how the person shows up at your door, make sure that you're ready to share information, make sure that you're being curious, assume positive intent, and don't look for winners and losers. Through all of it, make sure that you're being respectful, make sure that you're asking questions and trying to learn from them, and do your best to try to provide alternatives so that way you can find a common ground of the same outcome, but maybe not the same exact journey. My name is Prul Bhargava, and I was your host for the Practicing Leader podcast, and I'll look forward to talking to you next week.